What's up, guys? We played another 15-10 game. We have the black pieces up against Mark Stishley 2021. So I think this is the first 2000 and above rated player I've had in the series so far. I think so. This should be interesting. He starts with 1d4. I play knight of 6, being flexible. He plays the queen's gambit pawn structure, and I wanted to try the Budapest gambit. It's an opening I've been trying to learn a little bit about. So to learn, you have to play it. So basically, I launch my pawn forward, and it looks like a blunder because he can take, which is what he does. Then you jump your knight out to g4, hitting this pawn. So it's currently attacked once. He defends it. Um, Now I play bishop c5 in order to hit this f2 square, forcing him to play e3 to defend, which locks in this bishop. Because on the last move, he could have defended the pawn with his bishop, but since he didn't and he defended with the knight, I'm going to make sure his bishop now stays locked in. Um, so I played bishop c5. So he plays e3 to stop the attack. Now it's my turn. I develop my knight and put a second attacker on this pawn. And you can see that white can't really defend it. I mean, even if he tries to with the queen, I can always add a third attacker. He's going to lose that pawn. So he just develops. And here, I normally castle because this pawn's not going anywhere and you're always going to win it. But for some reason, I just felt like taking it right away. No big deal. You can see throughout this game, this eval bar right here doesn't move much. Um, so I take it right away. He captures my knight. I obviously have to recapture. And Budapest is very tricky. You can lose so quickly. I've lost very quickly. Because your pieces kind of get tangled in a weird way. And I feel like you have to be very accurate with it for success. You, so let's see what happens. So he plays f4, which kicks my knight out. It looks a little funky creating a backwards pawn and opening this, but it's actually the best move because it forces me to retreat my knight from the center. So I go back here, but now you can see that my knight doesn't have anywhere to go here. So white develops his bishop, gets ready to castle. And we both have two minors developed, and he has three kind of extra pawn moves in the position that I don't have. Whether these are good or bad, I guess we'll find out. So in this position, because he opened this up, I could have castled, but I couldn't resist this check. And not just the check, but because he doesn't have a knight here, I figured, he's not going to move his king and lose castling. He'll probably play g3, and then I can kind of infiltrate. If he wants to kick me out, he'll have to go back to the starting position, which I don't mind. So I gave him the check. He blocked it as I expected. Queen h3, just trying to be very annoying. Um, so he dives into the center with his knight, attacking c7 and threatening a fork. Um, Now you can go in here first, because if he takes this pawn, probably you can go king d8. You're hitting the knight and the rook. If he takes your rook, you could take his rook with check, His knight's trapped. So after this, I think he has to address this issue with rook f1 or something. I didn't play that though. I castled first, willing to sack this pawn and maybe the rook in the corner. Um, I I just wanted to not have anything have checks. I didn't want my king to be, I don't know. I can't really be harassed, but I wanted to just get it to safety so that then I can go here. I don't care if he takes pawns. His position looks a little more precarious for his king than mine. So that's what I did. He didn't take the pawn. He went queen f3, just stopping infiltration altogether. Um, Developing the queen, protecting the pawn, the knight. It seems like just a developing move. It makes sense. Um, he probably had to go for this. Let me in. Rook f1, d6, to open my bishop. He takes the rook. I bring the bishop out somewhere. Something like that. I don't know. Something more critical. Here I could have and should have played knight b4, attacking the bishop and the knight, and this square, forcing him to trade basically. So like here, his knight takes, my bishop takes with check, he blocks, I take, he takes, and now these two pieces are no longer tangled. They're no longer going to get hit by an a3, b4. Um, this knight will have a purpose by removing a strong piece or a bishop. And then I have no weaknesses in my structure. I didn't play that though. I thought that in my head, I wanted to develop my last piece. So the moves I was looking at would be d6, and I thought that would be perfectly fine. That's probably my most solid move. Um, and then I could put the bishop somewhere. It looks really strong. But I also saw this diagonal was open, and I wanted to put it there instead. I went b6, which is a bad move because it actually takes away the square from my bishop. And if he goes a3, um, do I have a5 push? Hmm. I feel like b5 is better, not covering this square, letting him take a pawn, um, but it kind of accelerating the bishop b7 idea because it's like a tempo sack. b6, there is something wrong with it. I can't immediately tell what, because a3, I don't know, maybe a5 is too weakening. But in any case, you see I lose all my advantage once I play that. Just out of curiosity, let me turn on the lines. If he plays a3 here, and I play a5, still my pawn's hanging, and when I move my rook out of the way, he just develops, hitting this square again. And so when forgetting about the tactics on this diagonal, I guess you can't. Let's say, okay, he retreats his knight to cover this diagonal. Let's just say I make a random move. b4, a takes, knight takes, bishop takes, bishop takes, knight takes. Oh, he can't. Oh, so it is attacked. That square is attacked an additional time, but he can't make use of that piece because of the pin. So I'm not entirely sure why b6 is so bad. Maybe just because after c7 pawn is gone, it's weak, and the bishop, if it ever leaves, it's weak. I'm not sure. But yeah. So what happened? Castle, queen. So I played b6 to develop this, and he takes the pawn. Now you could go here first, let him take your rook, He'd be up a rook and a pawn, and then you could move your knight somewhere, maybe here. Oh no, 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 here it has to be one of these squares to defend the bishop, but then he could just block. So like here, here, there has to be a knight jump. Like maybe this one. If queen takes, no, not that one. This one, if queen takes, then you have check. Let's find out. Lines. Bishop takes a8. Okay, I lied. You take back the knight, and this is still on. I thought you might have something with the discovery that keeps everything together, but yeah. Yeah, I guess you don't have any discoveries. You just have that diagonal super strong for you. Interesting stuff. Why is this so bad, actually? I guess because they just stare at the king. Yeah. Okay, so that's way too complicated, and I figured, what's the point of all that? Let me just move my rook and go here next. So that's what I did. You can see it's not like a bad move. The bar's still the same. So he retreats the knight, just getting it out of dodge, because it's done its job. It's won its pawn. I go to the long diagonal, and now I feel good. I feel like, yeah, I'm down a pawn, but this diagonal on my bishop should give me compensation. His king's not castled. Backwards pawn. I didn't mind this. I liked this position. So he develops his bishop. Now I do this idea because I see it hits the bishop, hits this square, and hits the knight. And the knight can't move because it's pinned. I also wanted to open this bishop up anyway, and this knight couldn't go anywhere. Here, useful. So trading it off and pressuring this knight, um, I felt like made sense. It didn't really. I kind of wanted it out of the game. He doesn't trade. He does an intermezzo, hitting the queen, kicking it out of its nice perch. I don't mind that because this queen was kind of blocking me anyway. So I centralized the queen, and now his bishop is back at home. He can't castle, so I didn't mind this. It's also X-raying the king. It's my position looks pretty good here. I like it. So he tries to be funny and just hits my queen with a pawn because if you look at it, I can't go here, I can't go here, I can't go here, here, here. If I go here, he could put his bishop here. If I go here, he could push the pawn and hit me. And if I go to like, I don't know, one of these squares, if I go to the light square, he can fianchetto himself. If I go here, he could bring a rook over. So it was an interesting move, a good try actually. Um, Here you can't go because of the knight, and you don't want to block your rook. So it kind of looks like there's nowhere to go. And I thought that too. I'm like, anywhere I go, he's just gonna do something with tempo, and I just don't like it. Like I need a better move. Um, it turns out that you can go here. Oh, I forget the lines. Whoops. It turns out you can go here because once he moves the bishop, this pawn hangs. It looks like it's defended by the knight, but if you picture this here, queen takes check. If the knight takes the queen, he loses the queen. If the, right, so it's not, you're not losing a queen. And if the queen takes, again, you take the queen. And if he takes the bishop, you take the rook. So you would be able to do that. I didn't see that, but because I saw another move that I thought was really good, so I played it, and it's another one of my outs. So if you're not going to go queen e5, the move I played is good, and that's take the knight, which is kind of cheeky because my queen's hanging, but I take a piece, saying if you take my queen, I'll take your queen. I'm up a piece and hitting your rook, and this one. If you take a piece, that's fine. I could just move my queen and my active pieces, and everything looks good for me. Uh, and if you take my, well, you can't do that. So he takes the piece back. Now my queen is hit. His structure looks really weird. His pawns are all over the place. I take the pawn because it's defended. It's once and hit twice. Now he takes the queen, which removes my knight from this attack. And here I thought, whatever, two minors and decent positions. He's got two bishops, a nice diagonal, but there's nothing that's going to be there pretty soon because I'm going to move my knight somewhere. My king's safe. He's got some stuff to target, like this is immediately targeted. So he doesn't have time for this right now. He would have to king up, which isn't a bad move necessarily. So he long castles, sacking this pawn. I figured that if I take a pawn, he gets a piece. I get a piece, he moves. He doesn't have time for this pawn, but I don't know. I guess I would defend it. I would put it on a dark square and bring my bishop back just to keep it, since there's no way for me to lose it at that point. So my plan was to take this pawn. If I take with the bishop and he takes and I take, then he can take the pawn. I could take a bishop, he can take this, and his rook's here. I give a check, he goes over. Now I have to defend this. That's bad. So taking with the bishop I don't like. Taking with the knight, again, he doesn't have to take if he wants to give up this bishop instead. So like you can just move out of the way, let's say, hit this pawn. It's kind of similar. Takes, takes. Wait, what? Oh yeah. Here, here, here. Oh no, you can't. It's my turn. His rook's hit. He would have to move his rook. And then maybe take, take, pawn up to push it one more. It looks fairly even-ish. I don't know, it's definitely an interesting game, but after he long castled, I won the game. And if we look, you see this sign, closed, fair play. In the middle of our game, he got banned for cheating. Now you know why the line is so even. This guy just plays like a computer. Look, 2350. 2350. But the guy who wasn't cheating, 2400. You're welcome. So we won, and I was glad because we got like 10 points because his ratings was so high. Um, all the points he stole from all the other players trickled down to me. So I was grateful for that. Um, it bumped us up to 1967. That was the year that, no, I have no idea, but 1967, that's pretty good. Happy about this game. I will gladly take more points from cheaters, keep them coming. Until next time, we keep on going to 2000.